Hey everyone, welcome back to Body Haven Soaps. My name is Darlene and I am the owner and creator of Body Haven Soaps. Today's video is going to be all on preservatives, why we should be using a preservative, what's not a preservative, and some of the myths around preservatives. Okay, it's our responsibility to make sure that the products that are going out there, if we're going to sell them, or even if I'm going to give them to friends and family, I need to make sure those products are safe. So that is what we're hoping to shine a little bit of light on today, and get some information out there that is good for you guys that are trying to create your own product, to make sure your product is safe for other people to use and for you to use. Okay, so that is what today's video is going to be on. I'm just going to give a quick update on what's going on with rebuilding after the flood. In the basement, last video I told you guys that we had finished the installation and vapor barrier and we're waiting for an inspection. We are still waiting for that inspection before we can start drywalling. There's a lot of houses that were affected. I believe we still have 200 and some people not back in their homes yet here. So in saying that, we have to be understanding that these inspections, are on a priority basis, and eventually they will get to us. Okay, so that's kind of where we are with the basement. I did spend this whole last week, me and my husband, doing the whole yard. We had removed a lot of the mud, but we had to tear fences down and all of that kind of stuff, and get all of the debris out so that it could all be hauled away from the fences and stuff like that. So that has all been done, and hopefully we will be seeding grass next week, so we can get rid of some of this mud that's around here. And that's kind of where we are as far as the rebuild. Now, as far as the company, you guys, I have had a number of monetary donations, and I have a few people that have signed onto my Patreon page, which is a huge help. A quick shout out to them. Thank you for becoming a Patreon of mine, and I've really enjoyed the conversations that we've been having and communicating back and forth and helping you guys develop and build recipes or substitute ingredients and things like that. So greatly appreciate that, you guys. I also did get my first YouTube paycheck of $128, so thank you all of you for watching. It is a huge support, and it will build, and we will build it with the company. Okay, very soon hopefully we get back to demonstrating how to make certain recipes for you guys so you can see how they're actually done. Until then, I'm going to continue doing videos on ingredients and what they bring to a recipe and why we would use them, and help you guys try to learn to formulate your own recipes, so even when you see my recipes, you can modify that recipe and make it your own. Okay, so that's kind of where we are there. I have, like I say, ordered a bunch of supplies. I have acquired a small location that is closed off where I can make my product. I'm very particular about cleanliness and making sure that I have a controlled environment to make my products in. So right now I just have that small tiny place that I can use, so it's not as big as I used to have, so I can only do so much at a time. But I have got product ingredients coming in where I can start making more products and getting them onto my website. I have signed on with 2 wholesalers as well that I will be supplying wholesale to, and I do have a company that I just making arrangements now to do a consignment in their store, so that is awesome news. As I get those products made, you will also see those on my website. I will also be opening up my Etsy store again very shortly, hopefully by the end of this month, and I will be doing all of my gift boxes and things like that on my Etsy as well. So those are things that I'm working towards. It's a lot to sort out when you've got to start from scratch, so it's sifting through things and my computer and everywhere else, and getting all of this information to continue to rebuild. So that's where we are right now. So a huge thank you to everybody that has helped support me in rebuilding this business, and we are making steps forward. So that's good news. All right, so let's get back to preservatives. All right, so what is a preservative? Let's take a look at that. A preservative is something that we add into our products to prevent mold, yeast, bacteria. Now, a lot of people look at a preservative or look at a product and say, well, it looks fine, it smells fine, it must be fine. That is not true. Okay, yes, we want to prevent the mold spores from growing, which we can visibly see, and the yeast, and we can see it in the discoloration and mold forming on our product. But we have bacteria that build at a microscopic level that you can't see with your eye. That would be just like taking food out of your fridge and saying, well, it's been in there for 2 weeks, but it smells fine, it looks fine, it must be fine. And that is how most people get food poisoning, right? Because things don't have to smell or look bad to actually be bad, okay? So a preservative is something that prevents the mold, prevents the yeast, but also we need to prevent at that microscopic level, which is the most common thing that people don't understand, okay? So let's go over some of the myths that I've heard about preservatives, first of all, okay? So I've heard things like it's an all-natural product, there is nothing in it but natural products, so I don't need a preservative. Yes, you do, okay? Natural means that it is organic. So we've all probably gone to the store and we've bought that organic product, and we have the non-organic product. You tell me which one lasts longer. The one that's non-organic, because it has been preserved with sprays and things like that. So we tend to buy those organic food choices, but we also know they have a shorter shelf life. Okay, so the same concept when we're going into our cosmetics. Even though it's all natural, it's going to have a very short shelf life, simply because it is all natural. So natural microorganisms and things are going to grow and build in that very quickly. So in an all natural product, you're probably going to need that preservative more than you would in a non-organic product. So you got to have that relationship of microorganisms that are going to grow. Okay, so even if it is all natural, we need to somehow preserve that to extend the shelf life and safety of that product. Okay, another myth, another thing that I've had people say to me is simply, well, I only make it for friends and family, I don't sell it. Well, if I'm making it for friends and family, would I not want it to be safe for them as well? Safe for myself? What kind of bacteria can we see in a cosmetic product at a microscopic level? We have staph infection, we have E. coli that can build, we've got all kinds of things, and those are just the ones that you guys are probably familiar with. But there is lots of different microorganisms that can grow in these products. So even if I'm making it for family, or I'm making it for friends, or I'm making it only for my personal use, I want to make sure that that product is safe for all of us to use. I mean, if I was going to make up a super small batch and I was going to use it right away, which typically, you know, if we make a batch, we don't necessarily use it in that first day or two. And if I don't put a preservative in it and I don't use it in that first day or two, I'm not going to continue to use it. I'm going to throw it away and make a fresh batch. So if you're going to make a very small batch and you're just going to use it at that moment, it's getting used right away, that's fine. You don't need a preservative. But if you are planning on packaging this, you are planning on keeping this for weeks, months for you to use yourself, whether that be a lotion or what have you, it needs to be preserved. It will build bacteria in it. Okay? And we talked about that whole, it looks fine, it smells fine. That doesn't mean it's fine. Okay? Microscopic level, you can't see it with your eye. It is still building bacteria. Okay, and if we think about bacteria, obviously we need the bacteria present, okay? And even though, I mean, the importance of keeping everything sanitized and everything else, and, you know, we've heated things up and we've done all the steps that we need to, what other ways can our product become contaminated? People use these things in the shower, right? People use these things in their bathroom. We have no control once this product leaves our care, of how people treat a product. A lotion, maybe they take the lid off and they forget the lid off for a day. All those bacteria and stuff floating in the air is going to get into that product. People dipping their fingers into that product introduces bacteria into there. And what does bacteria grow on, right? What does it feed on? Well, it feeds on minerals and nutrients and everything else. And what do we put in our product? We put things in there that actually are supposed to be minerals and nutrients and things for our skin. It makes the perfect place for bacteria growth. Okay? So another thing is people will use things like vitamin E and essential oils and things like that as a preservative. Okay, they are not preservatives. They are antioxidants. There is no proof that those are preservative. We need a broad spectrum preservative. Now, where antioxidants come in, and you'll notice in my products, I use antioxidants in a lot of my products, almost maybe all of them, such as vitamin E, things like that, because that prevents oils from going rancid and things like that, and brings a shelf life to my oils and butters and ingredients to a longer shelf life, but it does not prevent bacteria growth. Okay, so antioxidants, essential oils, they are not considered preservatives. Those are considered additives that we use to extend oil shelf life, to bring nutrients and minerals which bacteria feeds on. So by introducing that vitamin E oil, we're actually introducing something that bacteria grows very steadily on. So please don't confuse that. I've seen a lot of videos out there where people will state they use the vitamin E as a preservative. It is not a preservative. It is an antioxidant, and antioxidants are used to extend rancid shelf life of oils and butters, because it does slow down how fast they go rancid in your product, and to bring nutrients and minerals to a product. It is not used to preserve a product. Those are two totally different things. Okay. Now, another thing that I've had people actually ask me about is, well, if I'm using a product, an ingredient that I've bought that already has, because a lot of our products do already have preservatives in them, do I need to add more preservatives? Well, yes, you do, because that amount of preservative, the percentage of preservative in that ingredient that you've bought to keep that ingredient and extend its shelf life and keep it safe, is put in there according to its batch size. So even though there might be a preservative in it, when you mix it into your products, you're actually going to dilute that preservative, and it's not going to be an effective preservative. So even if some of your ingredients have preservatives in them, those are specifically to preserve that specific ingredient to that percentage, okay, of that batch, not your own product that you have mixed multiple ingredients into and diluted that preservative. You need to add your own preservative. Okay, so those are some of the little myths out there that I've heard or questions people have sent me. The importance of having a preservative in your products is huge. Okay, and there's many types of preservatives out there, and you guys are going to have to figure out which one is going to work best for you. Now, things that we need to know about preservatives is they are designed for different uses, right? We make many different products, so they are designed for different uses, specific pH range. That's why it's important that you're testing the pH of your product, which I will have a video coming up soon on pH of product and how to test that. It's really important that you use that preservative in that pH range that's suggested. Now, I get a lot of questions about which preservative should I use. Well, that is a big question, and not one that is easily answered by an individual or somebody that's not creating your product. That choice is going to be really up to you. Okay, not all preservatives work the same. So first of all, what is the pH of your product? that you're making and you want to put that preservative in. Okay, that is the first thing you need to consider. So when you guys purchase a preservative, hopefully you're purchasing that from a reputable soap supply company. And on that site that you order your supplies from, or if you go into a store that is a supply store, they should be providing you the information on that preservative. Okay, if you have a place that you are buying from that doesn't provide all of the information to you, I would not be buying from them. Okay, so when you go and you look at the products, if you go, for instance, I buy stuff from Windy Point Soap Supply, I buy stuff from Voyager, and a number of other stores, but those are my two main soap suppliers. Sometimes Soap and More, things like that. When I go onto their websites and I click on a preservative, it will tell me that preservative's guidelines. So what it's good for. Is it good for in lotions, soaps, right? Whether I'm making a liquid soap or what have you. So it will provide me with that information. Okay, it will also provide me with the best pH range for that preservative, so the pH of my product. And this is why it becomes hard to tell you which preservative to use, because it really depends on the preservative or your pH of that product that you're creating. So for me to tell you which one to use, I would need full information about that product. Okay, so it should tell you the pH range that preservative is good in. Okay, it should tell you what temperature to add it in. A lot of these preservatives are heat sensitive, so if you add it in while the mixture is too warm, it will actually deplete, and it can render that preservative ineffective. So even though you've put it into that product, it's not going to work to protect your product. So you should know the temperature range that preservative should be added to the product. Okay, and then there is some things that when you add a preservative in, if there's certain ingredients in that product, that preservative is not going to work because that ingredient actually renders that preservative ineffective. So you really, to tell you what preservative to use, you need to know the pH level, the temperature that preservative is being added at, and you also need to know what ingredients are in that product to be able to determine whether that preservative is going to work in that product. Okay, so on the website that you purchase this from, it should provide all of that information for you, and that is how you're going to decide what preservative to use. And the last thing that you're going to consider, or the first thing you're going to consider, whatever order you want to consider these things in, they should all be considered. Simply what it is you want to bring to your product, right? There's preservatives out there that have, paraben in them, and people don't want to. They want to label the product as paraben free. Well, then make sure you're using a preservative that doesn't have parabens in it. Formaldehyde, another thing that we may find in our preservatives. So make sure you're looking at the preservative itself and decide what it is your company is based on and what it is that you don't want in your product. And you can eliminate a lot of them and give you fewer choices. There is a lot of different preservatives out there. Okay, so there is some main ones like Germall II, Fanip, those kinds of things, and you should be able to find that information. But there is a lot of different preservatives out there, so do your research, guys. I can't tell you what preservative to use simply because it's going to depend on the product you're creating, and you need to do the research for that product. Okay, so that's kind of where the preservatives come from. Okay, so when do we need to use a preservative? We get this question all the time. Anytime there is water in a product. Okay, so I didn't say anytime we add water to a product, because some of the ingredients we purchase may already have water in it. Generally, if we're using, say, a body butter, for instance, it is all butters and oils. So a lot of people will just use an antioxidant in it to prevent those butters and oils from going rancid, and that is what they use. However, if you put glycerin in your body butter, which a lot of people do, okay, Glycerin itself does have 0.3% water in it as a purchasable ingredient. If you look up the vegetable glycerin, it is 99.7% glycerin, but it is 0.3% water. So am I adding water into my product? Absolutely I am. And you guys might think, oh, well, it's only 0.3% water. But what does bacteria need to grow? It needs water and it needs nutrients. Our products have nutrients in them, which feeds the bacteria, and 0.3% water is still water. If I add 0.3% vitamin E into my product, I'm adding that because it brings value to that product. So if I have 0.3% water in my product, that's still bringing value to that product, and there is still water content, so therefore I would use a preservative to prevent mold and microbacterial growth. Is this making, I'm hoping this is making sense to you guys. So know your ingredients, know what's in those ingredients. And yes, theoretically, if you are making a body butter and it is all butters and oils and there is no water content in your ingredients, you could get away with just using an antioxidant. But where do people use body butters? Okay, could they leave the lid off the body butter and allow bacteria to enter that product? Are they dipping their fingers into that product? Okay, introducing bacteria into there. So just because it's all butters doesn't mean bacteria growth cannot occur. So that's going to be a choice. Personally, myself, if I'm out and I'm going to buy somebody's product and it states preservative free, I'm probably not going to buy it, because for one, I know that it is not a safe product if bacteria gets entered into it. Second of all, it's just plain and simple not safe. Okay, there is a lot of preservatives out there we can choose from depending on what we want to introduce into our product. So take a look at those preservatives, you guys, and know what's in them, and choose them for your product. Okay, so those are different ways that things can enter into our products, and different ways to look at those preservatives, you guys. I'm not going to break down each preservative for you. I will provide some information in the description box below on the different preservatives and pH levels and that kind of stuff. But to actually pick a preservative for your product requires me to have full information to be able to determine whether that preservative is actually going to work in your product. What ingredients are in it? Is there any water in that product? All of those types of things. So that's going to have to be a decision you guys make on your own. I don't want to be responsible for giving you that advice. I'm just telling you the things you need to know about the preservatives. So just to finalize this, you guys, it is our legal responsibility if we're selling products, to make sure that that product is safe and that it is preserved. Basically, know your preservatives, do your research. It's really hard for another maker to tell somebody what preservative to add simply because we don't know what is in your product. We don't know what temperature you're adding it at, and we don't know the pH level of your product. So without those informations, picking a preservative is a hard thing to do. You have to take a look at that preservative that you're wanting to use, okay, and make sure that it's usable in those ranges, okay. How important are preservatives? Well, they're pretty important. Okay, it is your legal responsibility to make sure those preservatives effectively work. Okay, so once again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to make those comments below in the comment section, and I will do my very best to answer them for you. Like I say, you guys, preservatives is one of those tricky things. So feel free to ask as many questions as you can. Also, you guys, I am going to be doing a video very shortly on answering questions, any questions you guys want answered. So you can either submit them to me through email, which is in the description. My email is in the subscription box below, or put in a comment that you would like to have this answered on the next video, because I'm going to do a question and answers video. So whatever questions you guys want, make sure you get them to me so that I can put that onto the next video, or maybe the video after that, depending on how long it takes to get these questions in. Once again, you guys, thanks for watching, and thank you for all of your support. I hope you guys have a great day.